God'll get you for that one.
Maude is owned by Shout Factory.
God'll Get You for That, Walter is produced for entertainment purposes only.
Sponsored in part by Finley's Friendly Appliances. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another marvelous episode of God'll Get You for That, Walter.
And this week, we
did.
we actually heard Walter.
Yes, Walter was
that.
the one who uttered that phrase.
Yes, but I'm going.
You're jumping the gun.
I'm getting ahead of ourselves. Who are we?
Well, I don't know who we are today.
Who are we today?
I don't know. Where's my mind at? I am Tom Catt, and I am joined by the effervescent, the jovial, the divine Toni Homeperm.
Don't forget bubbly.
Well, I said effervescent. That's more than enough.
Okay. I'll take it.
Take it and like it.
I'll take it.
Today we discussed episode 16 of season 1 from Maude, and it's called Maude and the Medical Profession.
Mm-hmm.
It originally aired on January 30th, 1973.
Yep.
And this was one of the first episodes that I remember watching and just uncontrollably laughing. It was just one of those episodes where you can't help but laugh, especially to people who are definitely familiar with Bea Arthur from the Golden Girls, that Bea didn't do a lot of physical comedy in Golden Girls.
No.
But in Maude,
yeah,
she definitely leaned more into physical comedy.
Yes.
And this episode proved that tenfold.
Yes. Have to say, though, I mean, as far as being the queen of the deadpan, I mean, nobody was better.
Oh, no one was better than Bea Arthur.
I mean, on the Golden Girls, sometimes she would just give a look, and I mean, you were just hysterical.
You couldn't help but laugh.
Yeah, I mean, such talent.
Oh, the talent. The pageantry of it.
I know. So, Maude and the Medical Profession.
We actually have some guest stars.
Yes, we did.
Tom Bosley, who played whose father on Happy Days?
He was Richie's father.
Richie's father
he
on
was
Happy
Mr.
Days.
C. Mr. Cunningham.
Who played Dr. Tasco. And we have Elizabeth Frazier returning as a nurse character. And it was, it's always interesting to see, repeat offenders on 70s sitcoms. And I'm sure that she guest starred on like All in the Family and just other sitcoms of the day.
Of course. And I like that, I felt a kinship to her because they put her in a wig.
Yeah, they did. They most certainly did put her in a black wig.
To make her look different.
Yeah.
And I can relate to that.
We know you can relate to that.
I can relate to that.
I can't relate to that because I'm always wearing the same gray wig.
No, you're not. No, you're not. You have a few gray wigs.
I have several gray wigs in several styles. So the episode begins with Carol opening a bottle of champagne to toast.
Talk about effervescence.
Talking about bubbly effervescence.
Yeah, bubbly and effervescence right in the episode.
Carol was opening a bottle of champagne to toast Walter and Maude going to Italy for their second honeymoon.
Yes.
And Walter's all happy. He's it's been so long since I've been to Italy. It took 4 bags to pack because they were all done packing. And he remembers when he was there during the war that all he needed for a good time was a pair of nylons and a Hershey bar.
Which is true.
And like Carol's continuously saying, bon voyage, have a good trip. I'm really happy for you guys able to do this.
Yep.
And Maude is frantic.
She starts yelling from upstairs. Walter,
oh no. Tragedy has struck the Finley household.
Of course.
And she comes downstairs and she starts scratching at her backside on the bar.
Yes.
And she goes, I just broke out in a terrible rash.
Yes.
And Walter's immediately like, oh no, are we going to lose money? Like, are we?
He goes, are you kidding? And she's scratching her behind.
Scratching her behind.
Does it look like I'm kidding?
Well, from where I'm scratching, we can rule out mumps.
Yes.
Remember when mumps wasn't a thing? I mean, remember when... What was it that people took that made mumps, measles, and rubella just not a thing anymore?
What was it that they took?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
What did they receive?
A vaccine.
Did you hear that, children? Did you hear that word? I want you all to remember that word. It's an important word.
Vaccine, yes.
Yes, because
Yes.
if you don't want a disease or virus to last a while, you get a...
Vaccine.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Let's remember that. Let's
remember
hold
that.
that for a moment.
Hold that thought. So they start talking about having to cancel the trip.
Yes.
And that's really the crux of everything.
That is the plot of the episode where it's
Yeah.
like we're going to not be able to go on the second honeymoon because Maude is
Mhm.
incapacitated with this
Yes.
rash that she received from a tetanus shot.
Yes.
We come to
because
find
what
out
happened, Arthur comes in.
Arthur then enters.
He has a copy of Jackie O's
how
book.
to live in Italy, how to visit Italy. I think it was how to enjoy Italy on $10,000 a day.
No, $10 a day.
No, $10,000.
$10,000.
It was 10,000. That's
10,000.
what funny.
Oh, I missed that.
It was a joke, though. It was a joke. Yeah, he said
Okay.
how to enjoy Italy on $10,000.
Well, I can enjoy Italy on $10,000.
I too can
today.
I too can enjoy it
On $10,000
Also,
a day.
can I want to address something?
Please do.
$800 to go to Italy. That was a special Maytag deal.
Right.
$800 is not going to get you shoe fly pie to get to Italy these days.
No. Well, I don't know. You know, air fares have been crazy right now.
True.
And you know, I've heard about some, I mean, it may not be all the time, but I've heard of some like crazy deals of people
I
getting...
always thought it would cost like maybe $900, $1,000.
It's not cheap.
$1,200, $1,300.
Yeah. Yeah. And they had a special, because Walter being, you know...
A Maytag dealer.
A Maytag dealer, he got this special
Yeah,
charter
right now he's a
trip.
Maytag dealer. It's not until I think like a couple of episodes away that we find out that he owns his own company.
Right.
So we're not that we're far away from Finley's friendly appliances.
But back in '73, $800 for, you know, a trip.
$800 went a long way in '73.
That was a lot of money.
That was a lot of
It was
money.
a lot of money.
Nowadays, not so much.
No.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. So Arthur thinks Maude is dancing. He starts to like
And he
dance.
starts to cha-cha with
He starts
her.
to cha-cha in front of her.
Starts to cha-cha in front of her. And then Walter stops him and says
Yes.
she has a rash on her backside.
Right.
And
And Arthur points out that it's probably she's having a reaction
to the tetanus shot
she got because she was planning the trip.
yeah. Is that still a thing that you have to get a certain type of
I've never
vaccination
heard of
for
that.
traveling?
I've never heard of that.
Real? Never? Ever?
You know, I know if like you're going to some certain like African countries, they want you to have
A specific type of vaccination or a specific type of
inoculation,
preventative measure. Inoculation, that's the word we're asking for.
But to go to Italy, I've never, you know, I don't know. It just seemed plot device, probably.
Well, yeah, plot device.
I call plot device. What do you say?
I say plot device.
Because I mean, generally tetanus you get it every few years,
every 5 or 6 years.
You know,
yeah.
and usually, you know, it's like if I ever
As a matter of fact, my doctor I think recommended that I get my tetanus shot. I think the next time I go to visit, just to keep my boosters up.
Right. But normally they only give it to you like if you've gotten a cut or something.
Yeah.
Like that, they want to just protect you.
Yes.
But generally, it's not something you get every day or really think about.
So because of that, Arthur says, "All right, Maude, let's go upstairs, and I'm going to examine you."
Yeah.
And Maude is aghast.
Yes.
How dare? No one's going. And she says to Walter, I'm not going to go upstairs and let your friend ogle my naked body.
Right.
And Walter says to her, he ogles my naked body all the time, and it's no big deal.
Right.
To which Maude retorts, that's because your naked body is no big deal.
Otherwise he would leave the lights on, right?
That actually brings up a very interesting point. Have you ever had sex with the lights on?
Of course.
Sometimes me too. It's very interesting to
I've had it outdoors.
Good for you. Me too, but good for you. Good for you. It's always interesting when they address sex on 70s sitcoms because you wouldn't. Oh my lord, you just wouldn't expect it sometimes.
So, weirdest place you ever had sex?
Weirdest place. Weirdest place I ever had sex. Behind an Expressions.
Where?
Behind an Expressions.
Oh, one of those
adult stores.
Adult stores.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my.
Yeah, that would have to be the one of the weirdest places I've ever made whoopee.
I did it in one of those. You were out back. I was actually inside.
You were actually inside.
I was actually inside.
Those theaters, man, they just give me the free willies.
They're tight.
No pun intended.
Yeah, especially when there's 3 in 1.
Oh my god. Oh my god. You know what? Maybe the second weirdest place would be at a catering hall.
A catering hall.
A catering hall.
Okay.
Yeah. There were no events going on. It was just, me and 2 other individuals in a very large bathroom.
No wonder you needed that tetanus shot.
Oh, I'm dying. I mean, it's always fascinating when you get to experience that level of intimacy with certain people, and it's just, you're never going to see them again.
Of course not.
You're never
That's
gonna
why,
see them again.
Yeah, exactly. So what the hell? You're never going to see. You're never going to run into
You
them
only
again.
live once. But if you do it right, once is enough.
Once is enough. Oh my goodness. So we did digress, but I'm glad we did.
I'm glad we did.
I'm
it's
glad
only
we
going
did.
to make us a stronger friendship.
Of course.
Moving gaily forward.
So, Maude refuses to let Arthur examine her.
Yes.
With good reason.
With very good reason.
I would feel
very uncomfortable.
Yes, for me, I would feel uncomfortable, if a friend's spouse, especially if it was the opposite sex, wanted to examine me. But then again, on the other hand, I may just what the hell? If the spouse didn't care.
Okay, in today's day and age, the way the medical profession has been run, the last place I would want to go is to a doctor's office if I had a doctor in the family.
True. Very true.
Because, because this involves the medical profession, we're obviously going to be talking about doctors and malpractice and all that fun stuff. And because, medical insurance and just the way that the government handles medicine is an absolute abomination.
Other countries, healthcare is
a right.
A given.
It's a right. Like it's there. Mm-hmm. You're able to go to a hospital and only pay like $20 for a visit. It's not like here where if you go to a hospital, you go into debt for a couple of years.
Here, what we call a pre-existing condition, other countries refer to that as your medical history, not a pre-existing
condition.
So that's the biggest thing with the medical profession. The insurance medical insurance. They're always trying to get out of paying.
Always trying to get out of
what they want you to pay, but when you really need it, they don't want to.
They don't want to help.
They don't want to help. It's terrible.
So because of that, I personally would say if there is a doctor in my family that I can have examine me in any sort of capacity, I would probably say yes by all means.
And you know what? It was only the butt.
It's only the butt. I don't care.
If it was only the butt, I'm like, you know what? Go ahead, take a look at the butt.
I've shown a lot worse to a lot lesser people.
I know. They told me. Yes. Dorothy, close your legs. The whole neighborhood can see your business.
So the episode continues,
so
and
Arthur
recommends Dr. Tasco, who's a dermatologist. I want us to point out, it is exclusively mentioned that Dr. Tasco is a dermatologist.
Yes.
Hold on to that because...
Hold on to that.
Just hold on to that because he is a dermatologist.
Yes.
So Maude is then frantically asking Walter to, scratch her backside, just because the rash is infiltrating the body and it's appearing everywhere. And Walter makes a crack because Maude continuously says, harder, faster.
Do the top,
the
bottom,
the lower. Of course. And Walter, in his infinite wisdom, retorts, it would be a lot easier if I had more hands to cover the territory.
Right.
And
that's when Maude gives him the look.
And Maude turns, and Walter smiles haplessly and says, God will get me for that? To which Maude replies, no, darling, he won't. He will, but I won't. And then she stomps on his toes.
Yes.
And, it's funny. Physical violence on... Doing stage combat is very interesting to me. Because sometimes you'll have something in the way where you won't physically see the actors beating up on each other. And I want to point this out. There was one episode of Golden Girls where Bea Arthur and Betty White were doing a bit of dialogue together. And I think it was the episode where there was the doctor who was examining Sophia. And Blanche was obviously very taken with him because he was a very attractive man, but also Dorothy got to him first. And I think Dorothy said, would you like to go out sometime? And Rose says, oh, I'll join you. And
I just watched that episode.
And Dorothy stomped on her foot.
Right.
But if you look closely, Bea Arthur just stomps on the ground and Betty White reacts to it.
Right.
And again, it's just one of those moments in time where I'm like, the cameraman couldn't, when they were editing it, they couldn't, play a trick somewhere where you wouldn't be able to see Bea Arthur just stomping on the ground.
And not really her foot.
And not Rose's foot. It was just one of those moments in time where I'm like, stage combat has its moments, just as long as it's, staged.
Exactly.
But the episode does continue.
Yes.
I'm trying to remember where we go from here. Reduced reaction, dermatologist Maude stepped on Walter's toe. Dr. Tesco is... Okay. I think at that point it cuts to Dr. Tesco.
Well, they're making their way out the door. I don't remember what they're saying when they're going out the door.
So Maude goes to leave and Walter says, I'll drive you.
Yes.
And Maude says, not with that foot.
Right.
Because apparently she stepped on the foot.
She stopped on the foot.
She stops at the door and says, the irony. Here we are going to Italy, and the roundest part of me looks like a pizza. And then she scratches her behind on the doorway and then exits.
Yes. It's weird because I thought Maude and Walter were going, but it turns out Walter did not go with her to the doctor.
Nope.
So there was a little
bizarre.
Something was wonky.
Something poor blocking.
Yeah,
just poor blocking.
Not the blocking was a little
poor blocking.
But
it was a 70s sitcom. Who cares?
Neither here nor there.
So we cut to Dr. Tasco's office.
Yes, and it's crazy.
And the office is nuts. We actually find out that Maude had been waiting in the waiting room for 35 minutes and was actually waiting in the office for 20 minutes. So she's over, and they have to leave for Italy in 2 hours?
Something like that. Yeah. And she's puttering around the examining room. And remember how we said that Dr. Tasco was a dermatologist? I understand that the vagina is a part of human anatomy when it comes to skin, but what dermatologist do you know that has stirrups in their office rooms? I don't know.
I have
them in my bedroom, but... Well, you never know. You could have guests.
My mother, ladies and gentlemen. My mother's Sophia Petrella. It really was just one of those interesting things. P.S. Agreeable. Definitely agreeable. You never know when you're going to need to jam, no pun intended.
You never know when someone's going to need to get in stirrups. It's true.
But it was just one of those moments where I'm like, why would a dermatologist have stirrups?
Yeah.
That doesn't...
I know. That made no sense. Unless maybe they could say it was a
skin reaction
multiple practice
kind of a thing. General practitioner.
And maybe, I don't know, maybe other doctors use the examining room. And
I could believe that.
I don't know, but it was strange.
It wasn't like sole proprietorships.
And I forgot what was Maude saying when she was in the stirrups?
I'd love to get a doctor in one of these.
Yes.
Because she's a woman and she obviously knows that stirrups are pretty commonplace when you go to the gynecologist.
Yes. Okay, and now I think that's when the nurse comes in, who of course was played by Elizabeth
Frazier, who also plays Lorraine in previous episodes, and Liz in a later episode.
Yes, and she's got a wig on.
She has a beautiful black wig on.
They went out of their way to disguise her, so we didn't recognize her as Lorraine again.
You can't mask a face like that.
Well, no.
Elizabeth Frazier has a very distinct face, a very distinct voice.
Yeah. But they did go out of their way to try and
disguise her. They did their best.
Yes, but it was indeed the same actress who played
and
Lorraine.
Of course, the nurse is in and out, the doctor is in and out, and the doctor is constantly on the phone checking with other doctors. Who
No, remember he comes in, Maude's trying to talk to him, and the phone is ringing, and then he gets on the phone and he's talking to somebody about
a doctor.
But no, it was about an apartment building.
It was Dr. Stark.
Yes.
Dr. Stark called about a patient and then asked about if his apartment complex had vacancies.
Right.
And Maude asks, "Well, doctor, what about me?" To which the doctor turns around and says, "Sorry, no vacancies."
No vacancies.
Like If ever I ran into a doctor like that, I would be so disheartened by where the medical profession has gone. Mm-hmm. Because that is just a doctor who does not care about their patients. Mm-hmm. And, I've heard a lot of horror stories about some very famous doctors who have worked in, North Shore LIJ, Northwell Health. Some of those doctors are real bastards because they just want the money and that's the end of it. And it's one of the reasons why you'll always hear a joke that doctors are cheap because they don't tip. That's the joke. They don't tip because they don't know when they're going to get their next malpractice suit against them. Jeez. That was when I started my medical journey. I went to a vocational school where I graduated, top of my class, and then I went to I went to work for hematology oncology, and I just learned a lot about the medical profession and just how absolutely awful it is, especially given what's going on in today's climate. Wow. Because we live in such a litigious society. You need to have malpractice insurance. Of course. I was even thinking of contacting a lawyer and saying, "Hey, I'm a medical assistant. Do I need malpractice insurance? How do I go about getting that?" Unfortunately, I ended up getting hit by a car the following year, and then I just saw how really ugly the medical practice was. I'm like, I'm done. I'm done. Bye.
Get me out of here.
Literally. So that was definitely a learning experience for me. Just seeing how ugly and how sometimes disingenuous those doctors really can be. Because, you as a medical assistant need to basically not only be the doctor's right hand, but also make sure that the patients that you're seeing are in good health.
Right.
And also, forming a relationship with these people because you're going to constantly be seeing them.
Right.
I was actually told that I was too personable.
Wow. I believe it.
Which was really a fun, positive thing to be told.
I believe it. Yeah, I'm sure.
So it was. Yeah. It's a lot, but I do see both sides of the coin when it comes to this episode. Granted, they are extreme cases, but I do see a lot of why. I do see both sides, and it is just very interesting.
Now, at one point, while the doctor is in there, the nurse comes back running that somebody
number 2
is swelling up
like a balloon. It is the chocolate pudding.
The chocolate pudding.
What an interesting line. I was like, being allergic to chocolate pudding, sure, that's.
Oh, I have an interesting story talking about swelling.
Oh, I love it.
Now, when I was a little kid, and I was always getting colds and sick, and my mother felt that it must be allergies, so she took me to this doctor. I forget what type of doctor that is for
an allergist.
An allergist. Now back
or
then,
in your nose and throat allergist.
Back then, you know how they tested for allergies? It was not pleasant. I had to hold my arm out, and they had like a little this cone thing, and then there was a little screw that went in it, and like that had different substances, and you know they made like a little turn into your skin.
No,
and I had to go like every week, and it was like back then I was practically like allergic to everything. It's like everything. I don't know how they do it nowadays.
They actually do a series of shots.
Oh, they do.
They do a series of shots because my brother actually had to go to an allergist, and they did, I think, a series of 3 shots each. So it's 3, 6, 9, 12. I think 16 to 15. I think 6. I know it's a series of 3 shots each, and they each have a certain type of allergen in them. And whichever one bubbles up is the one that you're allergic to. Right. And that's I think how they do it nowadays. I could be wrong. If anybody would like to email us and say that I'm wrong, by all means go ahead.
Comment, let us know.
Let us know ahead of time.
But the way I had to have it done, it felt like medieval torture.
Awful.
Yeah, it was not.
I did not recommend that at all.
I think the only 2 things I remember not being allergic to were white meat chicken and chocolate. She said she couldn't believe it because she said normally everybody who has as many allergies as I do
is allergic to chocolate,
but I wasn't allergic to chocolate.
Well, good for you.
I know. So never had a problem with chocolate.
My favorite allergy story was when I discovered that I was allergic to pesticide.
Oh.
So I found out that I was allergic to pesticide by eating apples. And that was, was what I did. I always ate apples, whether it was with peanut butter, on its own, what have you. And I remember that I would eat just about everything on the apples, including the, sometimes I would because I have a big mouth, I would eat directly to the core of the apple.
Well, I do that. And I have been told I have a big mouth.
You, a big mouth? Yeah. So hard to believe.
Big mouth, small body.
I am big. It's the pictures that got small. So I'm eating this one apple one time, and I notice that my throat starts to close up.
Oh, jeez.
And when my throat is closing up, I start talking like this, and
very sexy.
Oh,
very Lauren Bacall.
Yeah, that's Lauren Bacall.
Quick throw on a Lauren Bacall. We have to. If we ever do like you as Lauren Bacall, I'll give you an apple.
Oh, great! So exciting. Just don't clean it. Just hand it directly to me.
Exactly.
So I start talking like this.
Okay.
And I remember going to my brother. I'm like,
sounded like you were getting verklempt.
Very much so. So I'm trying to tell my brother, I need a Benadryl. Where are the Benadryl? And he goes, come on, Tom, I know you're faking. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm what? Excuse me?
Oh, jeez.
Because I used to do a lot of impersonations.
Okay.
And because of that, he thought I was impersonating. Do you remember the Rugrats?
Yes.
The grandfather, Boris.
Oh, yes.
He always said like these.
Yes.
That was... So I started... He heard that voice.
Right.
And he's like, no, come on, Tom. I know you're bullshitting me. And I'm like, I'm not, though. I'm dying. So that was a fun discovery for me in terms of allergies. So I can't imagine what Maude must be going through knowing that she has an allergic reaction to a tetanus shot.
So what do you have to do? Eat organic only?
I have to eat organic or I have to wash with soap and water.
Okay. Good to know.
And the skin... Does that mean that I'm going to be making you more cups of tea?
No,
to relax you?
No, but if somebody's listening and if they think they might be allergic to
the pesticides,
that's what they need to do.
I know several friends of mine who are allergic to the skin on peaches, who are allergic to the skin on plums, and no amount of anything. And I was just like, you can skin them,
right?
Or maybe there's a type the way allergies affect people's bodies is different from person to person.
True.
And there's no one cure-all for it unless you decide to pop a Benadryl and just, sleep your pain away.
Sleep your pain away.
Sleep your pain away. I think that's the slogan for Vicodin and Valium.
So now Maude is still trying to get help. So I think the doctor he hands her the specimen bottle.
Hands her a specimen bottle.
Yeah.
Hands her a specimen bottle. And she looks at it and she goes, for a rash? Well, the thing is, I actually learned doctors and medical assistants will not get paid if they don't check your vitals.
Oh.
And part of vitals not only is the blood pressure, the oxygen pulse checker. What else? What else is there when you check your vitals? Oh, come back to me, knowledge. Come back to me. Blood pressure, pulse pressure, and urinalysis.
Okay.
Like, if you don't do any of those three, sometimes they won't get paid.
Oh.
And it's per patient.
Okay.
Yeah, I learned that. when I was doing medical assisting. Like, it's mandatory that you check a person's vitals.
Oh.
Because if you don't, and God forbid they end up coding on you, you're liable.
Gotcha.
Again, we live in a litigious society. So, again, Maude is trying to plead with the nurse, saying, please, can you get the doctor back in? And the nurse just puts the glass right back in her hand.
Right.
And Maude, brilliant Maude, does not tinkle in it. Also, where is this woman tinkling in this glass?
Yeah.
There's nothing that she can cover herself with.
Right.
So...
You can't do that in the examination room.
Not at all.
Well, a guy could.
A guy could. A girl, it would take a little bit. Like, that's...
for a woman.
There's a restroom. Go use the restroom.
You gotta use the restroom.
So, yes. So then Maude fills it with city water. Because city water will drive him crazy.
But it probably would.
Most assuredly.
It probably would. Then the phone rings, but she answers it.
Yeah, which you would never do that.
No.
I would never do that.
No.
I've had thoughts of doing that.
Oh, God, yes.
But I know that if I do that, it would just be a disaster for everybody involved.
And she pretends to be
Dr.
Tasco.
And she says, no, I'm so sorry. I'm leaving dermatology. I'm going to become a veterinarian.
Yes.
Call me when you get a horse.
Yeah.
And she hangs up.
Yes.
And she hangs up.
Oh.
So...
Tasco comes back in.
To announce.
Yes.
To announce the diagnosis.
Yes.
In layman's terms, Mrs. Findlay, you have a rash. And Maude is just so taken aback.
Yes.
And she's like, a rash? Well, now I know why you drive a Lincoln Continental.
Yes.
Because the big joke was that Dr. Tasco drives a Lincoln Continental. Yes. And he drives a Lincoln Continental because he points out the obvious.
Yes.
So, moving right along.
Again,
if ever a doctor would be like that, not only busy, but also kind of brain dead, I would, like, how did you graduate?
Yeah.
And again, this episode definitely points out the hypocrisy about being a doctor and how doctors are for other doctors and nobody else, and why doctors are so cheap. Like, I think in other episodes of Maude, like, Arthur will come in and, like how, what happened in, Maude's Dilemma. Like, Arthur was, like, helping Walter get through choking on the chicken leg.
Right.
And he says that'll be $10 for a house call.
Right.
Like, they will squeeze the penny until the buffalo poops.
Yes. Ooh, there's something to the power of suggestion. We may have to cut you.
Oh, God. Yes, to those unaware, there was a moment when we were recording where the computer just shut down.
Yes.
So if there's something funky going on at one point or another during this broadcast,
that's why.
We apologize, and that's why.
But that it is what it is.
So Dr. Tasco finally comes back in and gives her a little trough, a little cone of like 6 or so pills.
Right. But then he's giving her the pills, but then the phone is ringing again.
off the hook. And he's like, please, 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 don't hang up. And they're like having a conversation about Italy, how he says, I know a wonderful restaurant there, American. I think in some piazza someplace.
So Maude is like, she's like looking at the pills. She wants to take the pills. And then she was looking at the water in the specimen bottle. So
Maude chokes back the pills.
Yes.
And she goes to grab the vial that has her quote-unquote urine in it. And she stops herself and she's like, no. Like you just see the facial expressions. It's just so wonderful.
I mean, it was just water, but the fact that she was trying to pass that off as the specimen was like, she was just like, no, can't do it.
Nope.
So she leaves. The doctor doesn't even realize.
She's
it. Left.
And the nurse immediately brings in another patient.
Another woman in.
So, doctor hangs up the phone with whomever he was on the phone with and says, now, Mrs. Findlay, you take one of those pills every hour, or every 6 hours.
Yeah, one every 6 hours.
One every 6 hours, and have a wonderful trip to Italy.
Yeah.
Chow goes to leave, and the woman just looks haplessly at the camera.
Yeah.
It's not Maude, it's not Mrs. Findlay, it's just some random person that was brought in.
Yeah.
So, at that point, we have a commercial break.
Right.
And then we come back
to the house.
And Walter and Carol are frantic.
Right, because they don't know where Maude is.
They don't know where Maude is. Carol was on the phone with the doctor's office, and then she gets off the phone and says, Maude left a half an hour ago.
Right, she left half an hour ago, so they don't understand where could she be.
Yep. Is it at that point?
The doorbell rings.
The doorbell rings.
Yes.
And when Walter opens the door, Maude falls.
Yes.
Into the house.
And there's a cab driver.
There's a cab driver holding on
to her.
And just the brilliance of physical comedy in this episode. I do love this episode exclusively for its physical comedy. I don't exactly know how we can describe it other than Bea Arthur is supposed to be enacting and making believe that she's acting as if she has an equilibrium and balance.
Yes, she's like tilting,
falling
all over the place.
Into like it was very well staged.
Yes,
her just all of that was very well staged. It almost reminded me of like an episode of I Love Lucy.
Yes,
where I Love Lucy will go over everything step by step, and make sure that it is perfect.
Yes,
and I genuinely feel like that was the same thing that happened this time.
Yes.
So Maude falls in, and Carol again is frantic, like, "Mother, what happened?"
Right.
And I'm trying to think of where we're at that point. Right. So again, Maude is just falling over herself. The cab driver says, "Don't worry about it, mister. I got a sister," and he like shoots back his does it where like.
Yes, yeah.
He does it where, like, it's signifying
that making a hand gesture that she's drunk.
He's making a hand gesture that Maude is an alcoholic, which
not.
She is most certainly not.
And Walter, he's wanting to know where the car is. And I think at that point, is that when
Arthur
calls Dr. Tasco. And he's yelling at him about,
So we come to find out that after Arthur gets off the phone with Dr. Tasco, and Arthur was, again, a little out of character here, but he was very upset with Dr. Tasco because Dr. Tasco just did not take care of this patient.
Right.
We come to find out that Maude overdosed on an antihistamine. I don't remember the name of it. I have it written down. It's like chlorpheniramaleate.
Something like that.
Something to that effect. And because she overdosed on it, she has an equilibrium imbalance.
Right.
She has an inner ear problem.
Right.
And
she can't get on a plane.
So because she will just be violently ill.
Yeah, the trip is not going to happen.
Nope. And again, Walter's like, we lose $800.
$800 on the trip.
We're out $800. Like, what are we going to do? And I'm trying to again, just so. This is one of those episodes where just a lot happens in a very short period of time.
There was a lot going on.
So Maude ends up saying, "I've never had a second honeymoon.
Right.
I need to go on this trip. I've had
four
first honeymoons, but this is my second.
First second. And Arthur was telling her to go upstairs and take a nap, and she refused to do that.
She refused to take a nap, but she goes, I need to go to the bar to get myself a glass of water.
Yes, and she's trying to pour the water.
But before that even, there was one joke that always tickled me because I've used it myself. She says, you are all so wonderful for taking care of me, because again, she falls into Walter's arms, she falls into Carol's arms, and her family is there to catch her when she falls. So she goes over to the bar and she turns to her family and says, you're all so wonderful to be taking care of me. I must really be something. Because that's just Maude. Maude is a very selfish person.
Yes.
And again, more physical comedy. She's trying to pour this glass of water. The water glass is almost like she has no depth perception.
Yeah.
So she's holding the glass and she's holding the pitcher and she's pouring it and she's trying to pour it into the glass, but the glass is about
a foot away
from the pitcher. So she's pouring all of this water on the bar.
Yes.
And Carol's he's guilty. He's like, why would a doctor do that? And Carol, once again, being the logical thinker that she is calling out Tasco when something is obviously wrong.
Right. And Maude announces that she's going to sue Tasco for malpractice. Yes.
And Arthur is now just shaking in his boots. Because I think, even as an actor, Conrad then played it where he knew what was coming next. Because obviously Maude is going to try and coerce Arthur to be her witness.
Yes. And also, she then announces that the rash is back.
Yes. I actually have it written down. Arthur insists on her staying home. Walter's at 800. Dr. Tasco is guilty of negligence, guilty of malpractice. And Arthur's like, Maude, a punch on the nose, but malpractice suit. Like, that seems a little bit much.
Yeah, like it's extreme.
And, like, Arthur says, well, it's not going to work because it's the doctor's word against yours. To which Maude says, it is not the doctor's word against mine. It is the doctor's word against yours, Arthur.
Right.
Because, again, a doctor against a doctor, there's a little bit more weight to that. We'll hold on to that because we actually have to come back to that at the end of the episode.
Yes. And now Maude starts going on a tirade. She wants Tasco to be responsible. She also
I think at that point we come to another commercial break, and then when we come back,
Walter
gets off the phone with the travel agent.
Yes.
And says, well, I called the travel agent and we can't get back our money.
Right.
To which Maude responds, I'm getting vindictive and we're suing for the money.
Right.
Which, I mean,
yeah.
I most certainly would. Yeah. If that happened to me, absolutely I would do that. And again, that's why so many doctors pay into their malpractice insurance.
Right.
Because you never know what's going to come down the pike.
Right.
Again, litigious society.
Yes. The funniest bit was when Maude is trying to go over to the record player. And she like sort of veers over to the couch and then sort of veers over to the back of the room,
staircase.
The staircase, and then vears over
to where the telephone is and where the record
player is.
And she's shaking this record. What the hell does she say? She says, do you know what this is? Do you know what this is? This is an Italian language record I have been studying every day.
Yes.
And she ends up saying, it was in very Bea Arthur Italian.
Yes.
She goes, mio zia alla scaletta verde.
Right.
Do you know what that means?
You know what that means?
That means that my uncle has a green pencil box.
Right.
It took 6 weeks to learn that.
Now,
also, it's funny that we mentioned that.
Why? Does your uncle have a green pencil box?
No. But Maude has a degree in Romance languages.
Oh.
So why would she not be fluent in Italian and other Romance languages?
Yeah, really.
Again, point of fact. Okay. Because that was mentioned.
Interesting.
That was mentioned in the convention.
Fact.
We love continuity errors.
I know.
They're the bloodline of all sitcoms.
Speaking about continuity errors,
yes,
on the Facebook page that we follow about the Golden Girls.
Yes.
Somebody had made a post about, well, why are there so many inconsistencies? Like in the one episode, the pilot they called Blanche Hollingsworth. They didn't call, then that was the only episode they do that, and then it refers to Charlie as Charles, and then he becomes Charlie, and there was a whole bunch of things. And I said, I wrote, haven't we all learned from the Marvel Avengers movies? Obviously, there are an infinite number
of universes,
of Golden Girls universes. We're all, there's, in one Golden Girls universe, she's Blanche Hollingsworth, and another one, she's Blanche Devereaux. And in one universe,
she's Blanche Devereaux.
Yes, in one universe, Rose is married to Charles, not Charlie. I said, so that explains it all. It's an infinite number of Golden Girls universes.
It's also one of those things where it's like, the sitcoms are going to have different writers. And unless the writers have, like we mentioned in other episodes, a Bible.
Yes.
A Bible of continuity from previous episodes, they're going to write whatever they want to write.
Right.
Whatever issue they seem to be taken up with. I'm not friends with, but I know that Stan Zimmerman, who wrote a couple of episodes for the Golden Girls, wrote a number of episodes in the first season. So a lot of what he wrote sort of falls to the wayside in other episodes when another writer takes over.
Okay.
Think of it almost like comic books. Because comic book writers, you'll have a series of stories written by one writer. Then you're going to have another series, arc written by another writer. And sometimes they'll mesh well, sometimes they won't. As long as you have the core characters, you're going to be okay. Especially if it's enjoyed by millions.
Now here's the thing with comic books, because I was a huge comic book collector.
Never knew that.
Oh yes, I had hundreds and hundreds of comic books. The biggest thing, one of the things I felt that hurt comic books was years and years ago, say back in like 40s, 50s.
Yeah.
Like a kid they'd read comic books, and then they would stop reading them. They were sort of like a turnover. What ended up happening with comic books is that you started getting these collectors who were, still reading them and were not like stopping and were, and amassing all these collections. And all of a sudden, especially like with the Marvel comic books, we're like, well, wait a minute. Daredevil is doing this now, but back in, issue 37, this happened, so that can't be right. And then what started happening is writers started writing stories trying to, like, correct all these continuity.
What do they call that?
Flubs.
No, not flubs. There's a specific name for
retcons.
Retcons, where they would retcon the storyline.
Yes, retcon the storyline.
They did the same thing with DC when they did Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Yes, exactly.
And that shifted everything.
Yes.
When it comes to Marvel, there's just so many universes.
Yes.
So many universes, so many Earths, infinite universes.
Infinite amount of universes. That was one of the ways that they could say, well, that happened on a different Earth.
Yep.
So
that's the excuse. That's our story, and we're sticking to it, folks.
So, but it's sort of like, they sort of lost a little bit of the
essence,
the fun, the joy of just being able to tell a story. Because now they became constantly worried about, we have this character do this? Because, it was way back in, like, 1968, this character did such and such, so we can't have them doing this now in 1993, and, so...
It's exhausting.
Yeah.
It is, I don't know how much of a gatekeeper you have to be, and I never thought I would see the day when the Golden Girls would have gatekeepers.
Right.
Never thought I would see the day, but here we are!
Here
People
they
are just saying... And sometimes I get so annoyed when people are, like, commenting for the first time. People are just like, St. Olaf.
Right.
Like, South Side. Like, go burn yourself. Just go burn yourself. I can't. I just can't.
I'm one of those people that'll write say no less.
I would expect nothing less.
I
would expect nothing less.
I have to admit it. But I'm sort of like, you know what? I just let it go. I'm like, am I enjoying the episode?
Yes.
If I enjoyed the episode, then who cares if Rose is referring to Charlie as Charles or
correct.
It's like
I mean, it's also important to notice that everybody seems to collectively agree on one thing. The empty nest episode was awful.
Oh God.
That's
the worst.
That's what everyone seems to agree upon.
The worst.
They will agree on nothing else, but by God, they will agree that the empty nest episode is terrible.
Yes.
And if you even hear Rita Moreno
yeah.
tell the story about why the episode stinks so much and why the episode is just awful, it's a valid reason. Mm-hmm. Do you know the story?
No, what did she say?
She basically said that they got the script, I think, a week before it aired.
Okay.
And they got no time to rehearse it.
Oh, geez.
They got absolutely zero time to rehearse it.
Uh-huh.
There were constant editing problems.
Uh-huh.
I think someone ended up, getting sick, and they had to, cancel part of the recording. There was so much that went on in and around that episode
right.
that it just became a diabolical situation. How it ended up getting its own series is beyond me.
Yeah, but it was completely
different.
Except for the guy who played who was the
I forget his name. I don't know who you're talking about.
Yeah, what was his? I forget
the doctor.
No, not the. Yeah, well,
the
doctor
neighbor.
Was changed. The neighbor, Charlie, right?
I think so. Yeah,
I think
because he also guest starred in the Jeopardy episode later in the season.
Yes, I think he's the only actor that
stayed
that made it into the regular empty nest
because
show.
Rita Moreno didn't. I don't think was asked back to do it.
Well, they changed the premise that the doctor was Richard Mulligan was a widower, so the wife
was just written out.
Part was
Yep. No pun intended.
She got the axe.
Literally got the axe.
Yes.
But yeah, that episode was just not.
But I think nowadays with sitcoms, so you look at something like Friends. I believe they were very consistent.
They were adamant and they were consistent.
Little things were from
same
episodes.
Same thing with Living Single. Same thing with Two Broke Girls. Same thing with Mom.
Big Bang Theory.
Sitcoms today have the resources to go back and watch these episodes and be like, okay, we can't say this in this episode because it happened in this episode. We can, and again, just a comic book series.
Also, I think when they were writing Maude, when they were writing Golden Girls, they weren't writing for syndication.
No,
it was like they needed to get an episode written, filmed, and get it aired.
Get it out.
They didn't care about continuity.
Not at all.
And
I mean, again, at that point, it's like I've said before. Golden Girls is very cartoony.
Yes.
And when I say Golden Girls is very cartoony, is that you have your four basic characters. Mm-hmm. You have Blanche, the slut. You have Dorothy, the wit. You have Sophia, the old cranky woman. And then you have Rose, the ditz. You have all of these characters here.
Yes.
You have these archetypes.
Yes.
Go forth and write as you will.
Right.
Almost like the same thing with Will and Grace.
Mm-hmm.
You have Karen, who's the bitch.
Right.
You have...
Jack,
you have Jack, who's the flaming queer.
Right.
You have Will, who's the logical thinker and the moral figurehead of the group.
Kind of the straight man.
Exactly. And then you have I see what you did there. And you have Grace, who's sort of all over the place.
Yes.
And you have these characters here. Write a storyline for these characters.
Right.
So it's interesting to have, and again, with Maude, it's the same thing.
Yes.
You have Maude, who's the figurehead. You have Carol, who's the logical thinker. You have Walter, who's, again, the bit of a ditz.
Mm-hmm.
Arthur, who's the dick. Vivian, who becomes the ditz.
The ditz.
So you, again, have these sort of character archetypes here. Write a story around these characters.
Right. And that's what they did.
It's exactly what they did. So, moving gaily forward.
Yes.
Arthur is basically met with a moral dilemma where he's like, I cannot go against another doctor.
Right.
Because he may come back against me for malpractice.
Right. He won't testify.
And
now, I think Carol accuses of Arthur of lying through his teeth.
Yes.
And
Maude goes, oh no, Carol, don't be ridiculous. And then I think Carol says, why? You wanted to say it, right? No, she didn't say that. She says, why, you know it's true, right? And she goes, yes, because I wanted to say it.
I wanted to be the one to say that, yes.
There was another thing that really, like, it was one of those moments where, because I've been in the medical field, I know, like, obviously you see the symbol all the time.
Mm.
And when I heard that line the first time, I was like, that's a low blow. That's a real low blow.
Yes.
Because when Arthur basically says, like, you're not going to get any headway with this. Mm-hmm. It's just not going to work. Mm-hmm. And he's trying to, reason with Maude, basically saying, no, let's not do this. Let's do something else instead. Mm-hmm. Maude comes back at him and says, now I know why the snake is on the medical symbol.
Right.
Because he's trying to protect the doctor. And he's trying to protect his own hide.
Right.
And Walter's like, no, Arthur wouldn't say that. If the case had water, like if the case was able to go to court, he'd be all for it.
Right.
And Carol comes back saying Arthur wouldn't testify to the sun rising if it meant going against another doctor.
Right.
Because it's true.
It is.
Doctors protect doctors.
They do.
And that's even mentioned.
Yes.
So we're coming to that.
Yes.
So Maude is bereft, she's belligerent, she's angry, screams at Arthur to get out of the house.
And Walter is like, well, if he's going, I'm going with him. Which he does.
And he does. But Maude says, remember one thing. Mangia cavallo.
Yes.
Which is, it's supposed to be mangia cavallo.
Mm-hmm.
Which means eater of horses.
Right.
Or horse eater. And as, like, Walter goes, what's that? And Maude goes, that's Italian for this. And she bites her finger at him. Which just tickles me.
I love that.
Just tickles me so much. Because you and I both do it.
Yes.
I know I certainly do. Where I'll, like, bite my knuckle or I'll bite my hand.
Yes.
And that means, like, Italians talk with our hands.
Yes.
That's just what we do. And everything that we do with our hands means something significant.
Is that all you Italians know how to do?
Scream and hit? No, we also know how to make love and sing opera.
I just watched that one too.
They're great. Honestly, I just love going to sleep to the Golden Girls. I do.
All right, so Arthur and Walter go to the bar, of course.
Because of course they do. And at that point, we come to them drunk as skunks.
Yes.
Literally drunk as skunks.
They're drunk.
And we find out that Maude does have a case against the doctor.
Yes.
Because Arthur, in his drunken stupor, says to Walter, Dr. Tasco really was all that negligent. He was negligent.
Yes.
And Walter's just furious at that point.
Well, now before that, Arthur was going to give Walter the $800 to cover. He was going to write him a check. Yeah. Because
friends helping friends with money.
I guess because he was the one who recommended Tasco and all that.
It is Arthur's responsibility also.
Yeah.
Because Arthur can also be held accountable for that. Mm-hmm. Because that's a professional reference.
Right.
And if the reference does bad by the patient, that doctor is also held liable.
Right.
It's very interesting how that all works.
It is.
Like, I could never see myself becoming a doctor, even though I look great in a pair of scrubs.
I'm sure. I think I could be a candy striper.
Fine, you be a candy striper, I'll be a candy stripper. And somewhere along the way we'll come to candy spelling.
Yes. So they sort of start fighting, and Arthur points out that he was the school bully. Yeah.
One of the things that tickled me so much that I only heard in this episode was when Walter, pushes Arthur's hand away.
Down. Right.
He dents Arthur's copper bracelet.
The copper bracelet.
Did you remember those infomercials years ago?
Yes.
Where you would have this sort of magical bracelet on your hand, and it would fix your back problems.
Oh yes, it was fun. Align your chakras and all that good stuff.
All that snake oil.
Yes.
Oh my God! There was something that he said. You broke the. I think Arthur said you broke the spell.
Yes.
I'm gonna have a upset back or a hurt back for a while.
Yes.
And then we find out that Arthur was not the school bully.
No.
He was the eraser monitor.
Did they still use the blackboard when you were in school?
They did.
Okay. I don't even know if they still use them these days.
They didn't start using whiteboards until I was in high school.
Oh.
Before that, it was all on chalkboards.
Mm-hmm.
Like grade school. I mean, when I went to public school, that was all we had.
Mm-hmm.
Was just chalkboards.
Right.
And I may or may not have been the eraser monitor at some point.
Right.
Actually...
You've got some chalk dust. Let me brush it off.
Anecdotally, there was one point when I was in elementary school that I staged a protest.
Oh.
Where we wanted longer breaks and no homework.
Oh.
And we marched around. PS 186.
You're like one of the Chicago 7.
I should be so lucky. So we start like walking. It was a tiny, maybe like 20 foot by 20 foot, maybe a little bit bigger than that. 50 by 50. No, it wasn't 50 foot. Maybe it was 50 foot. It was just a big block of blacktop. And we just started marching. And I led the charge. That when we had
you
to...
were like a little Rosa Parks.
Take that back. Oh my God, take that back. But I was marching along the front, and when we were all pulled aside, I don't remember if we got in trouble or not, but we ended up getting pulled inside, and when we were told to sit down, the teacher, I think I was in 4th grade at the time. The teacher says, "Who started the march?" They all threw me under the bus.
Oh, of course.
Every single one of my classmates threw me right under the bus.
I would have pointed right at you.
They all pointed at me, and my teacher was just so beside herself.
Wow.
She goes, "Thomas? Thomas started it?" And I just was like, I did. I do not know if they called
gay boy? The little gay boy started the march?
Do not know if they called my parents. I do not have it. That is my only recollection of it, is that we were walking around the blacktop and we were just shouting, "Longer breaks, no homework."
Oh. There you go.
I was just a little hellraiser.
Yes.
That's all. Just me, the little hellraiser.
Okay.
But yes, longer breaks and no homework forever, friends.
And you didn't get it.
Nope. Absolutely not. Oh, my heavens to Betsy.
My jeez.
So, episode continues.
Yes.
And, oh, my heavens. So, after Walter and Arthur have their fight, we come to a commercial break. And we find out that Arthur is going to testify.
Yes.
Arthur's going to testify.
He's going
to
testify.
In between both, because they both got sober very quickly.
Yeah. Well, they were sitting on the couch and drinking coffee.
So, Arthur also?
Yeah, I think they were both drinking coffee.
They were sobering up.
There may have been some time spent.
Between going home from going back to the Finleys and the soon-to-be apology, Arthur called Dr. Tasco. He had to have. So,
yes.
Walter is pleading with Maude, apologize to Arthur. Just apologize. And Maude is trying her damnedest to apologize, and she just...
it's not coming easy.
Can't. It's not.
And they both have like little
quips. Little quips. Arthur turns to Maude and goes, "You can catch more flies with honey than you can with vinegar."
Right.
And Walter says, "That's right, Maude.
Yeah.
A still tongue never strangled its owner."
Yeah.
And Maude delivers probably one of my favorite lines that she's ever uttered in the series, and I've used it on you a couple of times. "Would you hold those words? I want to go and get my sewing basket and embroider them on a whoopee cushion." And she screams that the apology is off.
Yes.
And that she's never heard such a drivel in her life.
That's when the doorbell rings.
Yes. And Maude says that it's probably Confucius with another shipment of fortune cookies.
Right. Exactly.
Oh my God, the writing in this episode really, really tickled me.
So Dr. Tasco comes in and he's dressed in a tux.
That's right.
A very 70s tux.
A very 70s tux.
That was like...
There was actually one moment, like while Dr. Tasco is humbling himself, because now he realizes the error of his ways.
Right.
And he knows that that Maude is a very simple woman who just wants to hear an apology.
Oh, we have to point out, one of the first things he mentions was that
he's between parties.
He's between parties.
He's between
That's
parties.
why he's in the tux.
Have you ever been between parties?
Hell no. Not in a tux of all things. Maybe in a dress.
I can honestly say I've never been between... Well...
I was between a drag brunch and a drag night show.
That sounds about right.
So
I think it would be something similar.
I have been betwixt those. the thrice of us.
I hate you. I hate you so much. I was waiting for it. I knew it was coming. Like Christmas.
You know it was coming.
I knew it was coming. So the doctor is between parties, and he's trying. He's humbling himself. He's expressing that he is going to take better care of his patients, that he's going to listen to their problems, which we know is just a crock.
Yeah.
But one of the things that tickled me in this episode was Arthur saying to Dr. Tasco, it takes a big man to prove that he's small. And did you catch that?
No.
Dr. Tasco looks directly at the camera.
Oh.
And it was one of those moments where I'm like, yes, break the fourth wall. Thank you for doing that.
I didn't notice that.
It tickled me. It really did. I love when actors break the fourth wall.
Yes.
I really do.
Yeah.
One of the Sidebar. On TikTok, I have been watching Tyler Perry's live shows that he used to do. Because before he started doing the Medea movies...
Right, they were plays.
They were plays.
Yeah.
And there are times when I will watch it and he will break character. If something is incredibly funny, he will break character. And I love, as an actor, I love when an actor breaks character. Because not only does it take you out of the show for a little bit, it shows you that the actor on stage is human.
Yes.
Especially if it's during a funny scene.
Yes. On one of my favorite shows, Are You Being Served?
Okay.
A lot of times... The characters they do that, they break, they can't hold it, and you see you see them trying not to
laugh.
Yeah,
I love it. It makes my day.
Yes.
There was one show that I did recently. I want to say it was 2 years ago, of which it's not important, but one of the things that the character was supposed to do was play a violin. Because I'm on the floor, I'm playing the villain, naturally, and I'm on the floor being very melancholy and melodramatic, and...
so you really didn't have to act.
Didn't have to act at all. And my partner my acting partner, was supposed to play the violin. The violin wasn't set.
Oh.
Violin wasn't set, so what he did, it was a Christmas show. He took a giant lollipop and a Christmas present and played that.
Okay.
I looked at him, I had to hide my face because I was about to crack.
Oh, jeez.
It would have been the crack around the world. I was like, I actually I held my face and I am chuckling on stage. I've
had experiences like that when I did theater where it was like, something happened, and it was like I was like, fortunately I was like, somehow the blocking was that I was not facing the audience, and I was like,
you were trying.
I was like trying to hold a laugh in, and the other person was like, they didn't, they kind of just like, grin and bear it. So
have you ever heard of the acting joke where you have if a person how does it go? It's something you do on stage. I would not be able to do it because I just would not be able to handle it. Where there's a button that that one actor will start with, and they'll pass it off to other actors, and whomever has the button by the end of the show has to take everybody out for a round of drinks.
Never heard of it.
Really?
No.
Must be a new thing.
But I was much younger when I was doing theater. I was underage, so I wouldn't be taking anybody out for drinks.
But it was just one of those or like just some type of like practical joke or prank. I would not be able to do that because there are times when I'm on stage, I'm on autopilot.
Right.
I am on autopilot, and if something takes me out of autopilot, I just will not remember my lines.
Yeah. Yes. I get that completely.
So Dr. Tasco is humbling himself.
And Walter's still mad.
Walter's still pissed that he's out $800.
Maude wants to accept the apology, which I didn't really quite understand her, just wanting to accept the apology.
Yeah, that's, again, very out of character
It was
for
not
her.
in character.
I think it was because Dr. Tasco is a doctor, and she rarely, I guess, sees a doctor trying to humble himself and try to apologize.
Yeah.
So maybe this is a rare occurrence for her, but,
Yeah.
I mean, given the fact that if I were Maude, which I've been a number of times.
Many times.
If I developed a rash from a tetanus shot,
Mm-hmm.
I would say number one, I would say to Arthur, how dare you?
Right.
Now you need to prescribe me an antihistamine because if I go to another doctor for it, it's going to end in tragedy. And it did.
Right.
So not only do you have the tetanus shot that's giving you the rash,
Mm-hmm.
you now have a doctor that is negligent and just not paying attention at all.
Right.
Gives you antihistamines that he did not express. He did not give you he did not give you a oh god, he didn't give, not a doctor's note. He didn't give you directions. He did not give you directions.
And hello, a doctor just opens up a drawer and gives you pills.
I mean, was that a thing that happened in the 70s?
Not that I know of.
Neither do I.
Even in the 70s, we always got a prescription
that
and
would get filled at the
had to go to
pharmacist.
the pharmacy. So that was,
Bizarre. Plot device.
Yes.
I guess plot device.
You should be so lucky that the doctor just hand you some pills.
Exactly. So going all through this, I would still not relent.
Yeah, no.
I would not relent.
I thought when Maude was actually while we were watching it, and Maude was sort of saying to
she
Walter
was being reserved
that we have to accept his apology. I thought she was being sarcastic, and I was like,
nope.
But then it was like, no, she's being
sincere. She's being sincere,
and I was like, huh? So that
of all people,
that kind of threw me for a loop. I have to admit.
So,
and Maude did love his tux.
Yes, I love your tux.
Yes,
were her exact words.
But goodbye, $800.
Yes, and then as Maude and Walter are arguing off stage. Mm-hmm. Dr. Tasco and Walter are having a very chummy conversation.
Dr. Tasco and Arthur.
And Arthur, I'm sorry. Again,
yes.
I don't know why I keep doing that.
I do it too.
I do not know why I do that.
I do it too.
I'm just going to start calling him Conrad Bay because Walter and Arthur just sound way too similar.
I know.
It's the at the end, I guess.
So Dr. Tasco, he's got to get to another party.
Yes.
So he's the one seeing Tasco out.
Yep.
And that's when they have their little clandestine discussion.
Oh, good word.
I always
delicious word.
I had three because I had clandestine, betwixt, and thrice.
I hate you for those last two. So they're having their chummy conversation, and Arthur's like, the Finleys, they're nice people, but they're civilians. They don't know.
Yeah.
To which Tasco says, "Yes, I understand, but if you had taken this to court, it could have gotten very ugly for you."
Yeah.
And Arthur goes, "Yeah, and it also would be very ugly for you."
For you, too, yeah.
Because, again, doctors protect doctors, lawyers protect lawyers.
Yep.
True. Everyone protects everyone, especially in that respective field.
In the respective fields.
Because nobody wants
Oddly enough, though, drag queens don't protect other drag queens.
Nope. Drag queens are catty. Drag queens are catty.
Yes.
And they will throw anybody under the bus for the sake of the almighty dollar.
Oh, goodness me.
So that comes to the end of the episode, but there is an epilogue.
There's always an epilogue.
There's always an epilogue.
Yes.
Where, it's very... Maud's sitting at the dinner table, and there's a big wine bottle filled with wax that has the candle on. Very Italian, very, very, very ethnic. And Walter enters wearing, rolled up sleeves, an apron. He's singing O Sole Mio.
O Sole Mio.
Oops, careful.
I don't know if that's still copyrighted.
You never know, but I'm saying only the three words is fine. As a matter of fact, when I did my recordings for Maude Live, I did it where it was just the last bit of Maude's song, Right on Maude, and then the big finish.
Right.
And I didn't get flagged for it.
Oh, that's good.
So that was...
Yeah, it has to be very,
very tiny.
Tiny amount.
Very minuscule.
Otherwise, forget it.
Yep. But somehow it didn't flag me for the commercials I used.
Huh.
If you watch the Mother's Day special that I posted on YouTube, there's a break between one episode of Maude Live and another episode of Maude Live where there's I want to say four or five like CBS commercials.
Oh.
Where like at one end, their Sonny and Cher show was mentioned on it.
Because I think the algorithm is looking for music.
I guess so.
It's looking for music,
and that had no music in it except for the Legs theme song.
Okay.
The commercial for Legs the Pantyhose.
Yeah. It might not be in some things are just don't get picked up.
Yeah.
Luckily.
Well, I'm grateful.
Yes.
So Maude is also happy. She's like, "Oh, Walter, it's just like being in Rome."
He's got spaghetti.
As he has spaghetti in his hands.
They're having spaghetti.
Yes.
Yes.
He says one spaghetti for you, one spaghetti for me.
Yes.
And it's always interesting how they say spaghetti.
I know.
I don't think I've ever heard of an Italian saying spaghetti.
No, never.
Not even a Brooklyn Italian says that.
No. Although Italian Americans, they'll say ricotta.
Yes, they'll say ricotta.
But real Italians, they will say ricotta.
They'll say ricotta.
Ricotta. But I know, like...
And they'll never say mozzarella. Italians will say mozzarella.
Mozzarella, yes.
We'll have a conversation on that because we are Italians. We can say these things.
Italians.
So Walter's like, after Maude says it's just like being in Rome, Walter says, "That's for sure," and pinches her rear end.
Right.
That at one point looked like a pizza.
Yes.
So,
oh my God.
And that's where the episode ends officially.
Yes.
Holy Mother Mary.
There was a lot in that.
Especially like that doctor scene where like the nurse comes in, the nurse goes out, the doctor comes in, the doctor goes
ringing.
The phone ringing. Oh my heavens.
It was, chaotic.
Like laughing.
Yes.
If you would like to follow us, you can at God Will Get You for That Walter on Facebook and YouTube. If you would like to email us or follow us on Instagram, you can at Findley's Friendly Appliances. Email is findleysfriendlyappliances@gmail.com. And that's Findley with an A, not Findley with an E. Excuse me. If you would like to follow me... Oop, there we go again. I'm just so gassy.
You need a doctor?
I guess so.
Let me get Dr. Tesco on the line.
I need bicarbonate of soda.
Can I get you a brioche?
Oh, I love brioche. Don't even tempt me. I can't tell you how many times I've actually needed to take brioche after eating something very heavy, and it helps so much.
It does.
It helps so much.
It does.
To those who don't know, brioche is effervescence, and it's delicious.
It's like a lemon lime Alka-Seltzer.
Yeah. Tiny little shriveled up Alka-Seltzers that just make the pain go away.
They do.
Where
can they follow you?
They follow me at that Tomcat or thattomcat.com. I am trying to upload more images of my journey through cosplay and drag and hoping for the best, while also uploading more stuff with voiceover and all that fun stuff. And you can follow me at that Tomcat all over social media. If they would like to follow you, where can they follow you at?
Of course, they can follow Toni Homeperm, that's Tony with an I, on Facebook. And there's also my website, TonyHomeperm.com, and it's Toni Homeperm on Instagram. And also they can find the podcast on
Buzzsprout, Apple iHeartRadio, Pandora, Spotify, everywhere.
It's everywhere.
This episode is going to be very long because we are at the 50-minute mark and we recorded 25 minutes
I know,
previously.
it's going to be an extra long episode.
It's going to be but you'll enjoy it. It was a fun episode to talk about, and you'll hear plenty of anecdotal things about the two of us.
Yes, you will.
We thank you for listening, and we hope that you will listen to us again on another episode of God Will Get You for That Walter. Bye-bye, guys.
Thank you.
Come again.
Good night.
Good night.